This video is presented by ICTC as part of TADE, Talent Acquisition for the Digital Economy, a capacity-building program designed to help small and medium-sized Alberta businesses attract, hire, and retain talent for digital roles. TADE is funded by the Alberta Government in partnership with the Government of Canada.
Time with Tina, she'll get you to speak. There's nothing like Time with Tina.
Hi, I'm Tina Varughese, and today we are talking about delivering performance feedback, cultural differences in communication. We all know how important delivering performance feedback is. What we may not realize is how culturally diverse Canada is. Canada has a 22% foreign-born population. This statistic increases in our urban centers. In Calgary, where I live, there's approximately a 27% foreign-born population. Montreal sits at 34%, Vancouver at 43%, Halifax at 11%, and Toronto a whopping 47% foreign-born population. Now remember, foreign-born doesn't necessarily mean visible minority. Yes, some of us are brown, black, tan. Actually, for the record, I'm not brown. I'm toasted almond, according to the Benjamin Moore Paint app. Some of you watching are peony pink and mystic beige or Chippendale rose tone. I said those colors like Moira from Schitt's Creek for dramatic effect. Cultural diversity can be challenging in business. However, because of the multicultural work environment, it's important to recognize and understand some of the cultural barriers that exist in communication. In order to build bridges of understanding, it's important to understand what somebody values. Geert Hofstadter was a cultural sociologist that worked for IBM. He is widely known for measuring cultural dimensions from a global perspective. One of the most important dimensions to understand is the difference between an individualist and a collectivist. An individualist is responsible for their own achievements, goals, and accomplishments, whereas a collectivist appreciates a more collaborative team approach. It would be difficult for a collectivist to boast about their work, as they truly credit the team. Additionally, a lot of collectivist cultures view power dynamics much differently than in individualistic cultures. Of course, power dynamics and hierarchy exist in Canada too. It may be very difficult to disagree with the CEO of a multi-million-dollar company. The top source immigrant countries coming into Canada currently are India, China, Pakistan, the Philippines, Korea, and Syria. And they're all collectivist in nature. Canada and the US are more individualistic in nature, as this scale is out of 100. Canada sits at 80 and the US sits at 90. Now, what's important to note is that our Indigenous brothers and sisters are more collectivist in nature, very family and community oriented. Recognizing if someone is an individualist or collectivist is important when delivering feedback for a variety of reasons. Offering constructive feedback in the intercultural workplace or even when working or traveling abroad differs heavily across the world. Many issues can be at play, including the perception of hierarchy, cultural values and dimensions, the concept of saving face, even varying speaking styles. For example, is a culture more direct or indirect when it comes to communication? All of these factors factor in when offering feedback. Well, we used to use the sandwich technique. Say something positive, hide the negative amongst the meat, the cheese, and tomatoes, and then end on a positive slice. This is a very outdated and quite frankly non-inclusive way to offer feedback, as it's not necessarily recognized or used outside of North America. Recognize, too, that what we say can be interpreted differently. This example is from The Culture Map by Erin Meyer, a book I would recommend if you wish to learn more about cultural differences. what the British say. With all due respect, what the British mean. I think you're wrong. And what the Dutch hear. He is listening to me. Yeah, I can't do a Dutch accent. So let me tell you a story. Before I became a professional speaker and trainer, I had a relocation and settlement company that assisted oil and gas expats from all over the world integrate upon arrival. I'd assist in finding them homes, obtaining health care, and registering kids for school. Essentially, I was hired to be a BFF. One of my clients was a large Thai oil and gas company. I was assisting their president and worked through their intermediary. The president didn't agree with standard relocation policies for expatriates. I tried to explain the rules through the intermediary and was getting more and more frustrated as the company didn't want to follow protocol. They could have lost hundreds of thousands of dollars by not taking my advice, something I was hired to give. In retrospect, if I had disagreed with the president's feedback directly, I would have been fired. In certain cultures, such as Thai, Japanese, and Chinese, employees would never ever disagree with their superior due to the position of hierarchy. This is because it would cause a loss of face. It would embarrass both parties, hence why the intermediary was used. Now, this is something to be very aware of when recruiting, retaining, and engaging employees from a different culture than your own. Implement mentorship programs where employees can ask questions peer-to-peer. When there is a potential issue, perhaps the mentor is approached rather than the employee directly, almost acting like an intermediary. With cultures that are more indirect, such as Japan, Thailand, China, Indonesia, Korea, Kenya, Latin America, and the Middle East, hierarchical negative feedback should be offered gradually over time and never publicly. Now, this can be quite conflicting for people born into North American cultures. This doesn't mean reinforcing the same message over and over and over again, but offering feedback gradually over time. Remember, most indirect communicators are collectivist. Another strategy is to offer this feedback in a casual setting over coffee or lunch, not in a formal office. Being called into an office can be very daunting for someone who views hierarchy differently than someone from North America. Remember, cultural relativism is where beliefs and practices should be based and understood from that person's culture. Lastly, in North American culture, feedback is offered to reinforce positive behavior and negate negative behavior in the workplace, usually offered from a hierarchical viewpoint. In a collectivist society, everyone is seen as part of the whole. So the dysfunction or mistake is part of the team's dysfunction, not an individual's dysfunction or mistake. There is a collectivist responsibility to do and perform well. The phrasing of the feedback would differ greatly with collectivists. If a collectivist accepts the constructive criticism, they feel they have damaged their relationship with their employer. I've heard many employees say, "How do I remember all of this, Tina?" And fair enough. With such a multicultural environment, it can be difficult to accommodate everyone's cultural background. Managers can feel frustrated when needing to conform to cultural norms that conflict with their own cultural beliefs and values. If someone is a direct communicator now needing to offer feedback in an indirect, layered, nuanced manner, it can feel confusing and conflicting. Yet adapting one's behavior without losing sight of our own authenticity is part of being an inclusive leader. The keys to offering effective feedback is being adaptable and agile while remaining authentic to yourself. Be adaptable, agile, and authentic. Be adaptable and agile and authentic. Be adaptable and agile and authentic. Yeah, I thought that would really be cooler than it was. But you got the gist. Thank you for joining me for this Time with Tina. Feel free to follow me on social media so we can continue to have courageous conversations in order to strive for a better tomorrow today.
Time with Tina, she'll get you to speak. There's nothing like Time with Tina.